We're just waiting for the Chancellor to appear on the television screens with us this morning. It's been a difficult week for the government, let's be perfectly honest. What do you think I should ask him?
Well, you should ask him about the budget or our taxes falling. Obviously, he's not going to say anything, but you can try.
Indeed so. I mean, this is the funny thing about them sending the Chancellor out on the round, because you then say, right then, what are you going to announce on Wednesday? And they say, oh, sorry, we can't tell you until Wednesday. Like, well, what are you doing here then? But he's coming under increasing pressure, isn't he? Not just on inheritance tax, and there's two different approaches to this between the right and the left-wing press. On one hand, you've got the right-wing press calling for an IHT cut. On the other, you've got the Observer saying this is just yet another tax cut for the rich. How about this unfreezing of tax bands? Because we've seen this fiscal drag. That's when people who are on £40,000 or more have been dragged into a higher tax rate. I wonder whether he'll unfreeze the bands. That might be an easier thing to do than say, oh, we're going to take a penny off income tax.
Yeah, because these tax bands have been frozen. It's a classic Treasury trick to get more money without looking like they're raising taxes.
Yes.
But in a time of high inflation, it's absolutely devastating for families. So they've got to do something. Whether it's now or the spring, we don't know.
But it's interesting as well, also this language around, I would like to cut tax, he keeps on saying. I'm a low-tax Chancellor.
He self-identifies as a tax cutter, but isn't there yet.
He's a tax cutter in name only. But at the same time, I think he feels under pressure, doesn't he? Because we've got inflation coming down. To be fair to the government, they're taking credit for that. Should they take credit for inflation going down? They don't seem to admit that they may have been behind inflation going up. So that's the weird thing. So it's down, and actually Rishi Sunak has achieved that target. It was totally wiped out, that success, though, of course, by Suella Braverman's resignation and her bombshell letter.
Yeah, which I think we'll talk about a bit later. But Suella Braverman certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons last week. And I think that, you know, on Wednesday, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister are really going to be trying to set the narrative, set the conversation and show what they're actually about.
I mean, do they have to come up with something really quite rabbit out of the hattish? Only because the clock is ticking. I appreciate they've got the budget in the spring next year as a last chance saloon moment to set out their economic plan. But actually, it's quite crucial what he comes out with on Wednesday. We've got Tories like Ian Duncan-Smith, Jacob Rees-Mogg and others all screaming for tax cuts. You've got the public screaming for tax cuts because the burden's never been higher. It's been the highest now since the Second World War. So if he doesn't deliver, how dangerous is it for him?
I think it'll get tricky because this is off the back of a damp squib King's Speech, a damp squib conference. These moments that MPs have said to Rishi Sunak, you have to deliver, you have to give us something to show that this is working, that we have a chance of turning the polls around. I think if Wednesday is yet another damp squib, you're looking at real pressure to possibly even change leadership. I mean, that conversation will start.
Change leadership, Anna, come on,
well,
you're joking.
Some are, I mean,
Andrea Jenkins put her...
It's not realistic and it would be political suicide, but there would be a lot of unhappiness with Sunak.
And also, I suppose, what the interesting thing is with regard to the relationship between Hunt and Rishi Sunak now is how much that dynamic's going to be changed by the arrival of Lord Cameron. I might put this to the Chancellor, actually. He's about a minute out from being mic'd up, because I think George Osborne said in the week, oh, yes, Lord Cameron's now the second most important person in Cabinet. Well, hang on a minute, that's meant to be Jeremy Hunt. Also, I can recall...
And technically Oliver Dowden, Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, technically Oliver Dowden, yeah. Also, I remember, I think, the Mail on Sunday serialised Lord Ashcroft's book about Rishi Sunak. And in that, it revealed that when he was told, oh, you'll have to keep Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor, he wasn't particularly happy about it.
No, exactly. And Jeremy Hunt has sort of looked unsackable for a while now, just because, again, you can't change Chancellor too many times. It doesn't look serious. But I think if he doesn't deliver on Wednesday, again, you're going to have a lot of pressure asking why is he still in the job if he's not managing to do anything exciting and actually help people, help working families at a really, really difficult time in the economy.
Businesses? And
businesses. They're going to be talking a lot on Wednesday about trying to go for growth, that this is the time to reinvigorate the economy, to really try and give a boost to British businesses. I mean, there's some talk of doing things with red tape, with regulation. Yes. So, you know, let's wait and see. But that
surely businesses need a lot more than the undoing of red tape. They claim to be completely over-regulated and spending a great deal of time on bureaucracy. You've got them paying massive amounts of tax anyway through PAYE, and then adding to that with corporation tax now 6% higher than it was going to be. You've got this IR35 ongoing problem with people who are self-employed and having to now use umbrella companies and all the rest of it. You've also got this weird thing where they won't scrap the VAT on luxury goods. There's been a massive campaign in the Mail about it. We're not as competitive as our European rivals. I mean, this whole post-Brexit spirit of competition where we'd be leading the world on free trade hasn't quite materialised, has it?
And don't forget, VAT, as all the Brexiteers always said, is quite a simple thing to cut and make us more competitive. So you're absolutely right. Businesses are crying out for some help, for some cuts, for some incentives to get growth going and to make Britain somewhere people want to invest in.